It's Tuesday night. This is a special video. I just want to break down things in a little more detail because with a pattern when you have so much cold air, everybody wants to look for snow, and we don't have the cold air yet here at all. Obviously, you can actually see the boundary of cold air right like this right now. So we have a nice little warm pattern over the next few days. It's going to settle in, and then, as I said this morning, the cold air comes in. Now the question is, after the cold air comes in, do we see any snow? And I do still think a Thursday into Friday we see a few flurries, if not a snow shower. I'm still on board with that. But today I want to use a European model and show you what I'm looking at for early next week, because I know there's a lot of talk about a snowstorm. And right now, for all these areas right here, I don't think so. I really don't. I just don't think we're going to see a snowstorm. I think it's going to be rain, and I think the interior sees some snow. The American model, the GFS, doesn't say that. It says snow, and I showed that this morning. But the European and also some of the other things I'm looking at are showing a little bit more of an inland storm. And that makes sense just from everything I'm looking at. Let me explain to you guys why. So let's go now to Sunday. Okay, so you can see a storm system is developing here down towards the Gulf of Mexico. Ahead of this storm system, anything that's above this blue line is very cold air. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, great, there's a lot of cold air in place. But the one thing we don't have is we don't have a high pressure center sitting up here. Okay, so we don't have a high pressure center sitting there. It means we're not funneling down cold air this way. Instead, what we have is a low pressure center right here. It's actually part of the polar vortex, and it's bringing air around like this. So what's that do? As you can see in that last clip, I'll actually go back. Basically, that's causing a more of a southwesterly flow into the more of the coastal plains. That's bringing warm air up. So you can see these red lines of warm air, and the cold air staying back closer to that vortex up in Canada. So that doesn't really tell me that we're going to see much of a storm here. That's what I'm concerned about. Normally, when you want to see a big snowstorm, there's a few things you want to look at. So let me show you guys real quick. So going to an upper air map here. Let's look at the European model. So this is on Monday. So this is when the storm's on the way. Well, first, this little vortex here, okay, you really don't want, you want this departing out to, say, the northeast, okay? When that departs, you want high pressure to fill in behind it. So that's the opposite right now, which is why we don't have that surface high out to the northwest of our area. In addition to that, if you notice here on the European, it has a little bit more of a ridge here off the Atlantic, which is actually a little too strong, so it actually brings the trough back inland more. And again, that's due to this vortex dropping south. You drop the vortex south, you pump this ridge out to the west. So again, it's just not a pattern I like to see for a significant snowfall for the mid-Atlantic states. It's more of an interior storm. Now here's a GFS. GFS says, oh, it's going to keep it more out to sea, and interior stays dry. We have some snow in northwest counties, but that's typical GFS error right there. That's not going to happen. Okay, and even the new GFS model, which this is this morning, I was like, oh, okay, maybe we have something. The new GFS model is still suggesting that it stays to the south and east and gives our areas snow. But again, I just don't see it happening right now. So bottom line, based on the upper air pattern, I do not see a snow threat early next week. I think it's going to be rain. Now following that is where we have to look out, because following that, take a look at this map. So remember that polar vortex? I said it has to be departing. Well, look, it starts departing late next week. And look at this. We have a little bit of energy in the southern jet stream here. Okay, all we need is this energy to run along the jet stream. And there's a cold Arctic in the north, and we can create some sort of a storm system along the east coast. You can see the European models hinting at a big storm developing late next week. So way far off. We're speculating again. But I think this pattern overall should produce something eventually. You know, it might not be in your backyard, which you have to understand that, but I think that Northeast is definitely going to see a significant snowfall before Thanksgiving. In the Mid-Atlantic, it's all come down to, do we have high pressure in the right place to keep that cold air in place? That's key. So thanks for checking in. If things change, I'll keep updating you, but right now I think we see flurries Thursday night, and early next week I think it's mostly rain for everybody. I-95 corridor, even north and west of I-95, and not until you get into New York State and northwestern Massachusetts and Vermont will we see snow on early next week. So more on this tomorrow and as days go on.